All right, well, I have Kyle with me, my good friend Kyle.
How you doing?
And we are kicking off a series called God Stories. And these are stories where God has in some way intervened, touched our lives, and our lives are different because of these stories. And so I wanted to talk with my friend Kyle and have him share a little bit of his story, what has happened in his life. And so Kyle, good to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a blessing, really. I appreciate the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
Because I've really had a lot of God stories, you could say, in my life. There's been many times when God has been there. Nothing else could really explain it, you know.
Yeah.
No one's that lucky or that good.
Right. So Kyle, tell me, I know a little bit of your story. We've been friends for well over 2 years, probably close to 3 years now. But tell us about what was going on in your life before you had this transformation or this change or this intervention from God.
Okay. Well, let's say for probably 20 years of my life, I lived like a fast, money-paced life where I was a life of crime, you could say, where I was doing the wrong thing. I didn't care about anybody else or who I hurt. It was just, I really got involved with a real bad crowd of people.
Yeah.
And got introduced to certain types of drugs, dangerous drugs, and just rolled with that lifestyle. I mean, I left home, which was probably the worst thing to do, when I was like 16 years old, and just kind of developed a relationship with like a criminal, I don't know, like criminal type of organization, small one. But, so for 20 years, being on drugs, I was addicted for drugs for 20 years, and we did a lot of bad things to make money to support our habits. And I'm just grateful that I'm grateful that I'm out of it. I came out of it, and I'm alive today to talk about it, really.
Yeah. So you said this over a course of 20 years, and so you're talking about like in your late teens, you got started in this lifestyle.
17, I would say.
Wow. Yeah. And a group of people that you had gotten connected with, and started committing crimes.
Yeah.
And so, kind of share with me about like why did this become, I guess, such a priority, where all the other things didn't matter, people or how you got the money or different crimes. And
well, it's really selfish, like we didn't care about who we hurt or what we did, and at the time I thought I had an attraction to it. It was cool to me,
Yeah.
I thought these people, I guess I didn't have the discernment in me to be able to say these people are wrong and this is what I should not be doing. Instead, I went the other way with it, and I looked up to them.
Mm-hmm.
And developed that kind of characteristic lifestyle of my own, and just lived like that for 20 years. I mean, it went up and down. I mean, I fell out with those people over a short period of time, but that whole lifestyle, that desire to be in that type of lifestyle kind of stuck with me. So I carried that on with me for about 20 years.
So when you have like an addiction, and you have an addiction to certain types of drugs, like what does it like feel like, or what's that like, what's going on the inside that's like making it feel like I have to have my next high?
There's a lot of physical characteristics to it, but mental aspect of it too. I used to feel like I was a better person, or I could function at a higher level if I was under the influence of drugs or alcohol too. And it took, I've been clean and sober for 5 years now, and I mean, I've learned a lot, been through programs, and I mean, it's still a learning process. You know, I did so much damage in my own life that I still have a lot of weird little quirks and stuff that I need to work out, you know, but life is way better now.
Yeah. So this started for you, I know we talked before, back in your hometown. You grew up East Coast. And tell us about how you got here into, you know, San Francisco, and you know, that season that was kind of leading up to the moments where you made a shift in your life.
Let's see here. I really took a downturn when we moved to Arizona.
Okay.
That's when I started hanging out. When I was 16, my parents moved from Maine to Arizona, so my stepdad could get work. They shut down paper mills, and he just had more work there. So, but that's I think I kind of revolted a bit because I wanted to be back in Maine, and just met the wrong kid at school, and then got introduced that way. But that lifestyle picked up. I went back to Maine with this new all the new bad things that I had learned, right? And went back there, met up with my old friends, and they were also into the same stuff I was into, and we just raised havoc, you know. There was a couple times, one minor God story, I guess you could say. It's not so minor really, but we were drinking at the beach one day, and I was driving home, going way too fast on a backcountry road, and I come around a turn, and there's this young lady getting something out of the trunk of her car, and there's like nowhere else to go except for into the oncoming lane. Thank God there was no cars coming in that lane, but I was going so fast I swerved to miss her and went off into the ditch and slid my truck right into a tree sideways, probably 50 miles an hour. And had a friend with me in there, and we both walked out of that unscathed.
Wow. And
I mean, I look back at all these things that have happened in my life. At the time, I thought I was lucky, you know, but things like that have happened so many times. I mean, there's not that much luck,
right?
You know, or that maybe I'm just a good driver or something like that, but I'm not that good, you know.
Right.
I see it now, like how God has worked in my life so many times. I mean, I literally wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for God.
Yeah.
Making all the bad decisions that I made.
Yeah. So how did you end up in San Francisco?
Well, I did manage to go through an electrical apprenticeship. So I moved from Arizona to Maine to try to straighten up. That didn't work. Lived in Maine for 5 years. I moved back to Arizona to try to straighten up. And I got into an electrical apprenticeship there, and managed to complete that. I was doing pretty good for about 2 or 3 years, and then I met one of my old friends, got back into the drugs and the lifestyle, but I did get through the apprenticeship. That was a blessing. So I graduated the apprenticeship by the skin of my teeth, and when I got my license, or my journeyman ticket, I realized that I had to get out of Arizona to try to, that was my way of like cleaning up, you know, just move to a different location.
Yeah.
Didn't do any work on myself. At the time, I wasn't really connected with any church or, you know, had any spiritual part of my life. But so I just moved to another location. So I moved to North Carolina, worked there for a while, was cleaned up pretty good, moved to South Carolina, and I got into some stuff down there, and I moved, ended up coming out here to San Francisco. This is the highest paid, it's like the highest paid local for electricians in my trade.
Right.
So I thought, yeah, I'll go out there. I was out here for about a year, and I wandered into like the tenderloin area, and for someone like me, that was just like basically everything I wanted, you know. Over the course of a few months, I was in a full-blown addiction with everything possible, and I would say I managed to hold together at some level of functionality for a year until I started losing my job, and things really took a turn for the worse. I had actually got to the point where I wasn't working. I got fired from one job. COVID happened, so I wasn't working, and my addiction was just full blown. And I was like waking up on the floor, not knowing where I was. You know, one night I passed right out and rolled into a space heater, and I think that space heater is what saved my life. I want to talk about a God moment. Had that space heater not been there, I don't know if I really would have woken up, because it burnt a hole right in my back.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, that's pretty painful.
Yeah.
So without that level of pain, would I have woken up?
Right.
I don't think so. About that time, I was super isolated from anyone. You know, I wasn't working, so I didn't have anybody at work I was talking to. My family, I was just avoiding their calls. I was so ashamed of what I was doing, you know. And I was just in a deep depression, really.
Yeah.
It was a pretty sad way to live. I was coming to the end of the rope, you know. I knew that after that whole space heater thing, I knew that it wasn't going to be much longer before I overdosed and I was gone. So for some reason, one night I laid down, and I hadn't prayed for years and years, you know, and all my prayers up until then were like, oh God, please get me out of this. Oh God, I'm in trouble now. Which this one kind of was too, actually. This was more a humble type of prayer, you know, like, I've reached this point and I don't know what to do. Pretty sure I'm gonna die. And I asked God for help to just show me a way, just help me out of this. If jail is what it takes, then so be it. And all my previous prayers were, please keep me out of jail. This one was like I'm willing to do whatever type of prayer, you know, because I was at like a spiritually poor moment there.
Yeah.
And it, like, I want to say like a week after this, I actually got arrested and spent a year in jail for, I mean, the crimes don't even matter. They were gun-related crimes, like weapon-related crimes, but it doesn't really matter. It's the whole, just that, like, I prayed, and like a week later, God could see how desperate I was, and like he knew what was, and I asked for help, and he helped me. A week later, I went to jail, and I spent a whole year in jail, and that it got me clean and sober.
Yeah.
And kind of gave me like my mindset back. You know, I could think a little more clearly. Still wasn't thinking totally clearly. For living 20 years on drugs and alcohol and crime, I mean, it takes more than a year to just get yourself straight, you know. But that was the most profound thing that I can say. That I have probably a dozen God stories where I feel like God put a hand on me and helped me out of certain situations, a lot of car accidents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that is the most profound one. I prayed, asked God for help, told him I was willing to do anything, and a week later, my prayer was answered. Yeah. And I went to jail. I still had at that point in jail, you know, I still had a real self-victimizing type of mindset. You know, my criminal mindset was still there. I was in a terrible place. It was a traumatizing event in my life. You know, it was a rough. It was county jail, and it's kind of rough. but I'm so grateful for it because it's definitely what I needed.
Yeah.
But the jail wasn't the only thing that cured my problem. It was all the things that preceded it, which were after I was in jail for a year, they mandated me to a program, and in that program is where I really learned like the tools that I needed to move on and be sober, and also kind of understand why I was acting the way that I was. And it got me connected back into, I started going to church again too. And when I started going to church again, it's like when I never even like gave any credit to like that whole me praying and then going to jail. I understood it, and I knew that it was God, but like I didn't really give it a lot of credit until like I got back into the church, and I just felt this feeling of like being together with other people, like-minded people. It's just a really loving and caring feeling, you know, like the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, you know. Yeah. Even and sometimes in church now it's like that. But I really started thinking about that moment then, you know, and then all the other things that God had done in my life, and giving God praise for it. Yeah. And my life now is I'm way more connected with the church. I identify these things, how God works in my life, and things just keep getting better and better. And now I'm a person of, I'm not so selfish, you know. I'm a person of service now, you know. Like I do things for people when they ask. Like if you need something, I got you. You know, people at church need stuff. If I can use the strengths that God gave me to help other people, that gives me so much joy and contentment that I mean, it's worth it tenfold. That's the type of person I am now, and it's because of getting back to church and the program that I went through. My life is just, it's crazy how much better. I was so depressed, like lived just for years and years. I was just in a dark depression, and I didn't care about anything because I was depressed. I was hurting, so it's okay for me to hurt other people or act however I want to act.
Wow, so it seems like a lot of the realization that God was there was kind of like as you started to look back at what you'd gone through, and could really see how he had orchestrated things. And most people don't say, oh man, it was God's hand of help that he brought me into jail, you know, but you could see, I mean, and getting burned by a space heater, you know, but you know, just kind of just shows that sometimes we can be so disconnected, you know, and sometimes it takes something a little extreme to get our attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that shows like sometimes how God loves us so much, you know, right? And so as you're like, you know, sitting here and you're reflecting on your story, like what do you see as your story that you feel like is, I guess, what's most profound, or that God has done, you know, in your life up to this point?
The change.
Yeah.
The change in behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for a while, you just said it. It made me think of, I mean, for a while I didn't credit it to God until like I went back into church, and like other people were sharing things similar to it, right?
Yeah.
And I also have some of my peers in the program that they were like, Kyle, do you see what's happening here?
Yeah.
I didn't even see it for a while, and then I started really thinking about that stuff, and that has changed my whole view on things, and just made me be like, I understand that I have God now, and look what he's done for me. And I shouldn't be scared to do anything. I shouldn't be fearful of anything in the world, because he's been there for me all these years. Look how I've acted. Look at the things, and we're not even going to get into the things that I've done, but not all of them. But and look at, it's really a testimony to that. He never gives up. He's always there. And he could see some good in me. He sees good in everyone.
Yeah.
And he's changed me around now so that I can be an asset to the community that I live in and be proud of it and happy with it. You know, I don't help people because I feel like I have to.
Mm-hmm.
I do it because I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I like doing it.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good. But yeah, I mean, that's a profound change to be going from being a selfish type of person to being someone who is, you know, of service and being out there.
Yeah. So once selfish, addicted,
self-serving.
Yeah. Doing crime, didn't care about anybody, part of a criminal network of people.
Yeah.
Prayed. After God got your attention through burning a hole in your back from a space heater,
Yeah.
God brought you to jail and then began to do this work of change in your heart and your perspective. You did a year in a program and you began to get the tools that God has given you, started to plug into church, build community, and now instead of being selfish and self-serving, now you're serving others and being a blessing to other people.
Yeah.
Man, what a story.
Yep, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Good part of it bad, but it's all good now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I made it through, and I just pray that I can keep this type of mindset connected with the church, and which, I mean, just takes a little bit of effort on my behalf.
Yeah.
But,
Step at a time, dude. Hey man, I'm proud of you, bro.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.